Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and others. Yeah. Well, tuna salad nanwich for breakfast. Yeah. Quite delicious, actually. Yeah. 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 Oh. Anywho, yeah. I do follow a number of other YouTube content creators, most of whom can be summed up as progressive intellectuals who want to make the world a better place in some way, shape, or form. And all of them have commented at some point how American politics, and to a lesser degree Canadian politics, has come to be dominated by, quote, conservatives whose cartoon villainy makes Snidely Whiplash and the Hooded Claw look like plausible characters. I mean, seriously. The Americans have Migraine Traitor Green and Lauren Boebert and Jerkules. And here in Canada, we have Pierre Poilievre. Yeah. Cartoon villains. People who, yes, they belong on Saturday morning cartoons, cackling behind their capes and twirling their mustaches. And that's the kind of people who are being elected by conservative voters, while more progressive voters tend to elect non-entities and bumbling idiots and people who are simply not there, just not there. And this is a very disturbing trend. Progressives accomplish nothing, and then the cartoon villains of the extreme right wing turn around and destroy everything that they touch. It's disturbing. And no, we don't get a free pass, because even though the Americans are far worse, the fact is that we seem to be trying to catch up with them. American propaganda is broadcast to Canada through Fox News and through CNN and through MSNBC, and it's all just this endless swamp of right-wing propaganda, right-wing demonizing of anybody who doesn't fit into their extremely narrow concept of what is a real person. And yeah, people believe this. People are bamboozled. People follow and believe and trust these right-wing commentators who lie incessantly. And when they do tell the truth, they tell it in such a distorted manner that it becomes unrecognizable. And they scaremonger, and people buy it, and they believe it, and they're afraid, and so they vote for these right-wing candidates who promise to protect us all from the boogeyman that they themselves have made up, and that their mouthpieces have kept us afraid of by whipping us into a frenzy of fear with their endless propaganda everywhere. Yeah. It's frightening and it's disturbing. Yeah. It's a lot like watching the decline of the Weimar Republic. Only we don't have the benefit of French soldiers rolling in and confiscating our iron and our coal and humiliating our police and humiliating our politicians and humiliating our leaders. We don't have that benefit. Instead, we have to create imaginary enemies in order to scare the voter into supporting our various and assorted little Austrian corporals. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of taking a real problem and turning it into a boogeyman, they create entirely imaginary boogeymen. Well. And those imaginary boogeymen are equally as implausible as the conservative candidates being run and the right-wing candidates being run for office. And yet people vote for them. People vote for these, yes, I will say it again, cartoon villain candidates with cartoon villain policies, which again make Snidely Whiplash and the Hooded Claw seem like entirely plausible characters. And for those of you who don't know, Snidely Whiplash and the Hooded Claw were characters from 1970s Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah. And yes, they were both famous for cackling behind their cape and twirling their mustaches. And now it seems likely that in the next election we're going to elect Pierre Poilievre as our new Prime Minister. And he's going to twirl his mustache all the way to Parliament. And the Americans seem likely to re-elect the Orange Dumpster Fire, who they have propped up as bigger than Jesus. I mean, at least when John Lennon said it, he was plausible. The Beatles are great, but seriously, your Orange Messiah, if Christianity is to be believed, is the fucking Antichrist. Fuck. Seriously. And you're going to re-elect him after the damage he did from 2016 to 2020, when he basically ravaged your economy and your society, to say nothing of your infrastructure. I don't get it. How much more obvious does it have to be that you're voting for Snidely Whiplash? You're voting for the Hooded Claw. You're voting for a cackling behind their cape, mustache twirling, tie the maiden to the railroad tracks cartoon villain. You're going to do it. You're going to vote for these people. You're going to vote for the people who scare you into believing them because they wave imaginary boogeymen at you. And it's easier to just believe them than it is to do a little fucking digging and look into things and think. You're going to vote for these people. And yes, it's like watching the Weimar Republic disintegrate in slow motion with color and better hair. Yeah. It's a slow decline, and it sucks. And I've been watching this for years, getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Yeah. Something has to change. Somehow, we, the thinking people, need to start running for office. We need to start seeking political office so that we can be the brakes. Because right now, the cartoon villains are driving full speed at the wall, screaming, "More gas, more gas, more gas!" And the average voter is arguing about which seat they should sit in. We need somebody to put on the brakes. Stop the insanity. Pull us back from the brink because, yeah, that wall's getting closer and we're going to hit it at top speed. So what do we do? Do we continue to allow the election of the Snidely Whiplashes of politics and the hooded claws of politics? Do we continue to allow the Skeletors of politics to seek and gain and hold political office? I don't think so. I think we need to start putting up candidates who are competent, progressive, intelligent, reasonable, rational people. And who also have enough personality that they can get votes. Because, quite honestly, we seem to be putting up people who have zero personality. Non-entities. You cannot run a non-entity against a circus clown and expect the non-entity to win. And the cartoon villains, they're very good at slapping on the clown makeup. Yeah. They've got the rubber nose and glasses set up perfectly. And they seem poised to win the next federal election here in Canada and the Americans' next federal election down south. They're winning in England, they're winning in France, they're winning in Europe, they've won in Russia consistently. Yeah. Yeah. Cartoon villains in political office, cartoon villains in the highest office that the country has to offer, cartoon villains making policy, cartoon villains deciding your life. And it scares me that so many of you are going to vote for them. It scares me. It scares me that they have learned to scare you into voting for them. Are we living in a dark time? Absolutely. We need to start running intelligent people for political office. We need to stop letting cartoon villains win. Okay, there's that.